A Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate production. Samut-sari conversation with Mimi to connect with other women who may need someone to talk to around everyday's life issues and challenges, from managing career and household to inner productivity, relationships, and other hot topics. Samut-sari Conversation with Mimi.
A podcast featuring hot topics and other topics of interest for men and women alike. This is your host, Mimi Laurilia, and from time to time, we feature guests who share their passion, their commitment to their profession or talents. Here at Samut-sari, we share stories to inspire you, stories from ordinary people who make extraordinary things. And in today's episode, I have one of my guests, a good friend of mine who I haven't seen or heard of for a while. So I'm really happy that she was able to, become available for us. And I would like to say hi to her first. Hello, Sheila. Say wave and
Hello,
greet our
Mimi.
listeners.
Hi. Hello,
So Sheila,
everyone.
yes, Sheila Nepomoceno Gabe is one of the
Yes.
veteran professors in the in different universities because of her extensive experience teaching. So I would like to formally introduce Sheila for the benefit of our viewers or
Yes.
listeners. Because we are both available in a podcast medium. She has also mentored English majors who are now successful in their chosen fields. I also want to ask you later, Sheila, some questions around that. Sheila enjoys staying on as their life mentor and friend. Sheila finds fulfillment as a doting advisor to students and as a doting mother to her 3 kids. She enjoys residing in the suburbs even if she works or teaches in the big city. So Sheila, again, welcome. And there's so many things based on your introduction alone that I would like to ask you. So I'll just keep firing the questions as we go along. So I hope you don't
Okay.
mind. Sheila,
No
tell me,
problem, Mimi.
15 years in the teaching industry, in the teaching profession, what made you decide that this is where you want to be? Why did you want to become a teacher? And why is it a passion of yours?
Well, to add to the 15 years, actually 15 years here at the present university I'm connected with. But to sum it all up, I've been teaching for already 20 years.
Oh, di ba?
I
So
don't know
you're
if,
really a
oh yeah,
veteran in this industry.
in a matter of, well, the number of years probably, but I don't know how veteran I am in, technically in teaching. But anyway, well, that's a good question. I've always been delighted in telling people how I got into the academe. It's actually by accident. I was in the
Okay.
corporate world.
Yeah.
Although I took English as my major in our state university, and all of my classmates either went to law school or went to teaching, straight to teaching. But I guess I'm the only one in our batch, if I'm not mistaken, who didn't know what to do after the English program. I tried the corporate world. I wanted to be at Masscom then,
Mhm.
but I didn't make it because I was just a transferee at the state U. Anyway, it was an accident because I've been working for already 2 to 3 years at the corporate world. I did insurance, banking, and so on and so forth, marketing. But then I got bored one time and I had to go back to studying. I took my master's in the university at Taft Avenue where we met. And
Yeah.
eventually they invited me to teach part-time. But I had a very difficult time going from Makati to Manila. After work, I get to teach. So I just decided to do it full-time. Tried it with my master's ongoing, and I learned to enjoy it. Probably because I'm always with young people. And that university has molded me into what I am now.
Mhm.
uh, the training was good, no? The experience, the training was good because I didn't have any teaching experience before that university. So it was just, testing the waters without any idea whatsoever. I just enjoyed it. And I guess, the fact that I get to be friends with students and I get to mentor them. I find fulfillment in that. And that helped me as well as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
So that made me last longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully to retire here in this kind of career. Why not?
Oh, why not? It's just very different because you kind of charted your own career path. You know, you charted it. You're quite consistent in it. You find fulfillment in it, and I think you will retire in this profession for as long
I
as
guess, yeah.
continue loving your job. You kind already mentioned your answer to one of my questions, which is why English. But as an English teacher, do you think that it is still relevant to learn how to speak good English nowadays? Is English still a relevant skill? You know, good communication skills, written and verbal oral communication skills?
That's a good question, Mimi. I just remembered my lecture this morning. We were talking about world Englishes. Anyway, now that we have a new curriculum, we don't teach English courses anymore at the tertiary level. We have purposive communication for first year college students. We still would definitely teach English skills. However, because of the new paradigm of world Englishes, having new standards and varieties of English, so we welcome, things beyond the standard English that we grew up to be trained with, right?
Mm,
During that time, it was just conservative, old school of thought. Now, yes, it's still a skill to teach and learn across disciplines, actually, across disciplines. And even if we don't teach English language majors, we still would teach them English skills in all language aspects, in all modes of communication.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
So there's still a room for developing one's communication skills in this, current climate in terms of industry, in terms of the who the students are, the millennials. So over the span of those 15 years or even more, okay, over the span of your 20 years career, have you noticed if there's any change in the type of students that you have been mentoring and teaching? Have they improved over time? Have they become more difficult over time? I haven't been in the academy for quite some time now, so I'm quite out of touch. But you will have a better pulse in terms of the kinds of students that you have. So, can you give us a little bit of a flavor of your experience in terms of handling different types of?
That's right. Now, it's a challenge to deal with different types of students. Having been to a couple of generations as my students, well, probably you've heard, and some of us here have heard about the stereotyping about millennials. Am I right? Most or many people would find them difficult. It's a different generation to discipline. I would agree with some aspects of that. However, I don't want to see it in a way that it's always difficult to do it. I guess it would just be difficult if you don't know their world and you don't get to join them in their world. Or probably it's much easier for me to accept that and it was not as tough to adjust because I'm already a parent myself. And I guess I get to mature as well on how I handle them. When I was younger, probably the first 3 years of teaching, that was really tough for me, whether they're millennials or not.
That's right.
But then, yes, as we mature as teachers, the same with students, no? Although you really have to improve your craft, meaning you have to be at par with technology, especially now that we're doing remote online teaching. And if you don't go with the flow, it would really be tough.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would be unfair if we keep on stereotyping the generations that would come later more beyond what we have as a generation. I want to always break the age gap or the generation gap there because
Mm-hmm.
I want to be comfortable with their world as much as I want them to be comfortable with mine.
That's
So
right.
things will be easier. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm loving our conversation, Sheila. I kind of
Oh,
miss you
wow,
and
thank
I
you.
kind of
And
miss
me too.
your viewpoint. So it's refreshing for me to hear your ideas, especially,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
you're
Wow.
targeting it. You're always bullseye. Here's
Glad to
another
hear that.
question for you, Sheila. You mentioned online learning. So this is really relatively new in the Philippine context. COVID is like the mother of all inventions. Unless it becomes a necessity, it will not come into it will not be born. It will not come into fruition. So this is your new normal now. At the moment you are teaching online. How was it like for you adjusting to this mode of instruction as opposed to before where you travel, go to the uni, prepare for morning, evening classes or whichever class that might be. Tell us your experience now. Give us a little bit of an insight around that.
Yes. Well, we normally get those questions these days, right? And yeah, it was not very easy to adjust. In our case, we didn't have a very big adjustment regarding the online learning system because our university, we started this learning management system for blended learning. If it was not full online before the pandemic, we already
Yeah.
started this for a couple of years before. So in
Mhm.
a way, we got to experience using this kind of system. However, it was blended. And what we did before with this online learning is just a supplement of what we do face to face. So still we adjusted. I had to take a course on remote online teaching, just online. Even if I've been hearing a lot from webinars, sometimes you really have to set your mentality on online teaching because it's easy to accept the fact that we have to do things online. But I believe that if your mentality is not fully ready for that, you seem to be just bringing what's on face-to-face classroom to online. It's supposed to be more of, as how I learned it from my 2 to 3 months of a short course for remote online teaching. You really have to reinvent everything, not
Mm-mm.
bring what you had in the physical classroom to the online classroom because it would be very difficult.
Yeah.
My professor even had a comparison or an analogy of a basket of apples and a basket of oranges. You can't compare the two because they're different. Or if you bring the apple to the orange basket, it would be a different picture. But
Mm-mm.
anyway, I've been talking too much. So there.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss an episode by clicking on the subscribe button now. This podcast is possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now back to the show.
I prepared myself in that way that I had
Okay.
to reinvent. And it was good that our university trained us for a couple of months for this one.
Mm. So you are
Hmm.
very lucky because you're working in the university setting. I think there are more resources and there are more support
Yes.
available for university professors like yourself. But maybe the situation is different when it's elementary school. Some of
Yes.
the you mentioned about the attitude, the mindset of the teacher that you have to totally reinvent yourself and do a lot of different things right now. And some of them are resisting it because maybe some of them are working in remote areas where there's lack of technology. The profile of the students, they're probably not as prepared as the teachers are. And maybe some teachers are medyo old fashioned. They prefer to do it the old style, the traditional way. So it really takes time before they can adopt, become an adopter of this new system. For a person who may not be familiar with blended learning, although they are just hearing this word, this
Yes,
catchphrase,
yes, yes.
what is that blended learning very briefly? And what's the difference between your class preparation before and in the new normal?
Well, blended learning would mean a combination of face-to-face sessions. Say, for example, you have 3 meetings in a week or 2 meetings in a week, for example. So the first meeting for the week can be online, and then the second meeting could be face-to-face or vice versa. In my experience before the pandemic, I was able to teach engineering students or information technology students. So they get to have their technology in their classrooms.
Mm,
So we had that kind of schedule, blended learning. I meet them Mondays, but on Wednesdays we meet online. Or I do an asynchronous type of session.
yeah.
So for the pure online, like what we're doing now, it would be different in a way that what we do face to face for once a week, maybe even if we do it synchronously, say for example in a Zoom meeting, we use Zoom sometimes. Even if what I teach them in the face-to-face classroom, I may not bring everything through another session that's synchronous.
Mm.
You might be bringing in the same content, but the way you deliver the lesson would be different in a way, and you need to adjust, especially with schedule, with the
Mm.
technology. You have to share your screens from the PowerPoint to a certain technology, you just need to adjust it. And of
Mm.
course, you don't see the students face to face, even if they have their cameras there, even if they have their microphones. Not everybody would be comfortable
That's
to
right.
turn them all on unless it's required. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. I think the nonverbals are very difficult to ascertain when you are
Yes,
online, especially for those students who
definitely.
say, Ma'am, I have to turn off my camera because my data is buffering if I put my video on. So there are so many excuses. You cannot gauge their reaction to what you're saying. You can
Yes, yes,
and maybe when the connections are really poor, then they can get disenfranchised and disadvantaged if they cannot reconnect and join the class. So there are so many
yes.
elements of this online learning that really challenges us a lot. And I'm thinking your preparation time, like you said, is different because you have synchronous, asynchronous. Asynchronous, I'm assuming those are like modules that they read on their own, things that they have to do, like reports, projects, etc. It's really
Yes.
so different, and it's both a blessing and a challenge at the same time. It's a blessing because it pushes us to try different things, but it's not so much of a blessing when you think of the inconvenience of having to reinvent everything. But you don't have a choice.
Yes.
You don't have a
That's right.
Yeah. So thank you for explaining that aspect of your current work. Now I want to go back to your what you mentioned a while ago about being a friend and a mentor to your students. How do you delineate your role as a friend and a mentor to your role as a teacher? Because that is subject to abuse. If they know you are the
I
very
know.
kind Miss Sheila, they will say, "Oh, she's my friend, so I can get away with anything." How do you deal with that?
I can only be their friend after a semester. Even if they send me friend requests on Facebook, I won't accept them. Some, even if they've already graduated, I'm not comfortable letting them join in my social media life.
That's right.
Being a friend would be more of, because I'm a thesis advisor as well, my approach would be more of a mentor slash friend,
Yeah.
or they would always say thesis mother. So they see it more that way. That's a good question. No, how can I delineate that? Some students would like to befriend teachers definitely during the semester, but I always make it clear that when inside the classroom, I'd be different. Some would find it weird, or on the other hand, amazing how I can change my mask
That's right.
come school time or classroom time. I'd be different. And what's funny, the students who would always wait for me outside class or befriend me are the ones who are more scared of me when I'm in the classroom. And the others are just, just normal. But
Yeah.
it's weird that those who know me in a way, personally, as compared to the others, although of course we need to set up a parameter, or a
Mm,
limitation, they know how the level of friendship or professional relationship goes. So I guess that's where respect can be earned.
yes.
Yeah.
It's good that you're able to really draw the line as to what is acceptable, as to what is private, as to what you can share with them, this aspect of yourself. So that's good. So, Sheila, what do you think are the current teaching strategies that are at work at this time in terms of teaching English or generally lang, because you're dealing with a new way of teaching and learning? So, if there are other teachers listening to us or watching us, what would you say as some of the tips that you can share with them that worked for you that could probably work for them?
Generally, if we're talking about having a new generation, totally different from before, having shorter attention span, having more distractions around, and having technology as their uh, go-to friend, no? And whenever
Mm,
they need something, assignment, hobbies, man, or what, we really just need to be with them, know their nature, know their interests and hobbies. I'd always start my my term or my classes. The first week would always be about, building rapport, getting to know who they really are, what they're into. For communication subjects, we need to be more student centered. That's one. Students would be comfortable to know that you are with them, you
mm,
understand their world. In our case, we teach in different colleges, so we get to meet and be with different majors. So we do English for we teach more of ESP or English for specific purposes, and that would mean as much as possible, even if we do have a course plan for all across disciplines, as much as possible, we cater to the needs, writing needs, speaking, oral com of certain majors. Like if
mm.
I get to teach at the Faculty of Pharmacy and at the Faculty of Liberal Arts at the same time in one term, I need to adjust a bit for the other one. You know how students now would want to find relevance to what they're doing.
That's
It can't
right.
be just, yeah, you can't be just by the book all the time. So
Mm,
I'm always on social media just so I know what they know. Because if you
yeah,
don't know them and they just get bored with theories without you are trying to apply it in their life and in their world,
that's
it's
right.
going to be tough to teach them. And keep on
Yeah,
reinventing. Yeah, just reinventing. It's tough, really tough. Challenging. But if that's your bread and butter, why not? You also get to
mm,
be updated
that's
yourself.
right.
So go ahead.
Yeah.
But it's
So
really tough.
that means that it's an exciting time. So that's a good advice. So how do you keep up with your students? You have to know what they're doing, where they're hanging out, what sort of topics interest them, and weave that in or incorporate that into the theory or lessons part. I think that's a very good tip,
Yes.
regardless of the subject anyway, because like you said, the way you become effective is not just what you know, but how you impart it and how
Mm-hmm.
they see the relevance of what you're teaching.
Yes.
So I want to go back to your being a mom. How do you manage your
Mm-hmm.
daily grind, your daily schedule? You have meetings, you have online, you probably have to prepare your lesson plans, and your kids are also doing online learning. I'm just assuming that they also require your help with their schoolwork. So how do you manage all that? How do you become a
I
super mom?
wow. I'd like to believe so. But anyway, before the pandemic, it was easier. I get to wear my hats on different days at different times. You can assign it na, di ba? Where you can be a mother, when you can be a mother and a professor. I have my me time as well. I always would have to squeeze it in or else I'll get insane. But now that it's pandemic and every day we're uh, at home, all of us, nobody goes out. Even my husband, Bani, stays at home. Well, yeah, my husband is a very hands-on dad. That's why it's a lot easier for me. Primarily, it's because he's always with me. Because he knows I'm on Zoom now, he does the tasks downstairs. Yesterday, he was in a meeting. It was my turn to watch and watch over the kids and do house chores. So I guess it's a matter of dealing with things, errands,
Mm,
one day at a time. Yeah,
yeah, one day at a
I
time.
learned how to do that one day at a time because it could be really be overwhelming. One day at a time and scheduling. Although I'm not much into time management, that's what where I'm very poor at. But because of the pandemic, I get to improve my time management skills. If I need to cook all food for the day in the early morning, so once we start with classes, everybody's okay, then I'll do it. If I can't because I'm too tired, then Vani does it, my husband.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
you just have
basically
to.
that's basically my routine as well. So I'm the glorified chimay of our family. So before I do my Zoom, before I do my actual work, before I, hide myself in the study to do what I need to do, I usually have everything prepared. So anytime anyone in the family needs anything to eat, there's always something ready and available because each one has a different schedule. My
Yes.
husband's work is rotating. Sometimes he works in the morning, sometimes he works in the evening. So he always has baon in the fridge ready to go. It's the same with my daughter. My eldest one is now a nurse, so she can be morning shift or alternate
Wow.
shift.
Okay.
So I have two other kids who are at uni, so they also have their own Zoom classes and they also
Ah,
have
yes.
part-time work. So they're just in and out of the house. In short, I have four boarders at home, and I'm the glorified chimay. That's my life now. So, yeah, but mind you, I don't teach, so I don't do your class preparation, but I'm mentoring student interns who work for their placement. So before they can graduate, they need to have internship hours. So I'm kind of like teaching in a way, so mentoring them on the skills that they need to do in order for them to be proficient in their profession after they finish their courses. So it's like teaching in a way, but in a different, scenario or case. So really, really, my life is busy, and even on a weekend, I'm still doing the Chimay duties. So I don't have a weekend, Sheila. So you mentioned your me time. What is Sheila's me time? What does that look like, and how do you spend your me time?
Before the pandemic, my me time was my long trips from home to the city. It would take me about 2 hours. Worst would be three. Just sitting alone in the bus and having my own time, reflecting, thinking, or listening to music. Now it's pandemic. The family knows if I'm already stressed out and I need to relax when I turn on the video. Okay.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, my own way of doing it is just what simple YouTube videos that I get to sing along with.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as they already are finished with what they're doing as well, we have our own me time in a way. So if they're done doing their thing in the living room, then I'll do mine. If they're done with the hobby, they need to go to back to studying, then go ahead. I'll do my own hobbies naman. Good thing the schedule as of now, we can still manage, and hopefully until the school year ends, but we'll just be ready with some sudden changes, but as of now it's still manageable.
That's
It's
right.
still
So
manageable.
yep. So I'm picking up that in order for you to survive your busy life, you have to be flexible. You have to take
Yes.
one day at a time. You have a schedule, but if it doesn't go the way you wanted it to go, just go with the flow as
Yeah.
long as
Mm.
everything gets done. And then you said your me time can be anything because it's really important that you also look after yourself. Okay. So you always need to be full tank. If you are half empty or if you're drained, how can you function anymore? And that me time is really
Yes.
important. It doesn't matter if it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 3 hours, one
Yeah.
hour, as long as there's a time for you to reconnect to your inner self and your stress levels go down and you're not cranky. I understand that because people at home tell me I'm bipolar. One time I'm laughing, and then the next minute, in an
Yes.
instant, I'm on top of my lungs shouting at them. So they say, "Mom, you're
That's right.
crazy." But
Yes.
crazy as they may say, that's where we are at our age right now. As we're changing the leaf of time and your hormones and things like that. So really, we have to just adapt to whatever it is that's confronting us at that very, very moment. So it's good to know
Yes.
that I'm not alone in that
Oh
scenario.
yes.
Other people are experiencing the same things as me. So it really
Yes.
brings me comfort, kumbaga. So Sheila, if there are people like if there are people who are interested in teaching at the moment, is there a possibility of them, is there a possibility for people to go into teaching nowadays, or does that require a totally different qualification in order for you to teach online? Maybe because a lot of people, some of them have been retrenched from their jobs due to COVID, and they are looking for alternative sources of income. Not everybody can do pagluluto. Not everybody can do
Mhm.
simple business, reselling, online selling, and things like that. Is there an opportunity for tutoring, for example, or online English teaching? What's your comment about that?
I'm not connected with any institution that can do that. But anyway, I since I'm on social media all the time, I could see some online learning jobs in online language tutoring, or within the neighborhood, some I guess would look for tutors who can be with elementary kids because they cannot, as you know, a home, in a way we do homeschooling now with kids, eh.
That's right.
Now, the parents have a major role now in the learning of their kids. So I could hear and I could learn some of us here, for example, in our neighborhood, they would be looking for those who can be with their children within the day that they're not there with them since they're at work.
Mm-hmm.
That would depend on the level that they can handle. No? It's different handling kids, to handling young adults. When it comes to online, because some of those interested may not be brave enough to go to another house and teach children, you can probably try, yeah, online English tutoring. I heard that not everyone looks for an English major for this one. A high school graduate would do, right? We
Mm,
as long as you can teach conversational English for that.
that's right.
Since
Yeah.
we might have foreign language learners who may be looking for Filipinos who are comfortable talking in English, at least conversationally. I think that would be a good way to earn some money during
Mm-hmm.
this quarantine.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's a good idea because, I can't blame people if they're very desperate. But on the other hand, they should not lock themselves into their own profession. They can always pivot their job opportunities. So pivot, I like that word. It's a buzzword right now. Like, you totally change your profession because this is only. Well, I'm not saying this is going to be permanent. I'm thinking this is like not even long term. This is just a temporary situation. We don't know how long it's gonna be, but definitely we have to adapt. You don't have a choice. You have to adapt. So if you can't do what the others are doing, I think teaching is really a good alternative. And at the moment, I'm also doing pro bono consultancy work as an educator myself. So I'm not totally out of the scene, but I'm getting a lot of my connections through that kind of work. So it may not always be paid work, but it's something that I think would really open a lot of opportunities for myself. So that's the message that I want to share to others, which is they can also make themselves known out there if they have extra skills that they have, and maybe increase their networks and increase more opportunities that are available to them. So really, though, my advice to add to your advice is people should be open to what else they can offer. So you don't get bored just staying at home, or you don't get too anxious about your financial situation. But there's always something to do around us. There's always whatever little or big thing it is.
Yes.
So Sheila, I really want to go on and on, have this conversation with you. I'm loving it so far, and I always tell my guests when you start a conversation, it's difficult to end it, but a program has a beginning and an end. As much as I would like
Yes.
to continue chatting with you, I really want to thank you for your time today. And I want to ask you now for any final words.
Oh, it's a good chance for me to be able to share what I do and how I do things. Although it's not ideal, it it may sound ideal for some. Uh, at least probably I've inspired them. But yeah, you can just do what you can, and I've learned to end the day and not regretting that you did not do what you're supposed to do. But that's hard to do. That's hard to convince yourself that you can just only do so much in a day. It's really tough. Even if I have a teaching job at this quarantine, it would still be something that may not be enough. So I feel those who are looking for means of or source of income. And it's good that many technical courses now can be offered free online. They can access those, and there are many people who cannot do things at the same time. Probably they can help out some neighbors, some friends, and from there, you're right, they can increase networks. And yeah, it's good to know that not all who want to teach would be somebody who's really into education, because yeah, you can also share your other talents and skills, and we just have to adjust to what's in here. We don't have any choice anymore, and just work on what we can. And I've learned to already ask help from others. If before
Mm.
I thought I'm the superwoman of the house, now I need to delegate tasks even among the kids, just so they can also empower themselves, because we need to survive anyway.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you,
right.
Mimi. I hope that I was able to share something meaningful as insights.
Of course, I really appreciate all your insights. So thank you very much. And maybe there will be a part two if we want to continue discussing those teaching strategies, because sometimes I get feedback from people now, "Oh, can you talk about this topic, or can you talk about this topic?" So I always look for people to interview that, can talk about those topics, because I don't want to be talking to them always on my own. I
Yes.
enjoy it more if I'm with someone and I'm exchanging it. So we'll end the show now, Sheila. So thank you very much again for being here today, Miss Sheila Nepomoceno Gabe. And if you want more information about Sheila's teaching strategies, her experience, and you want to get in touch with her, please, you can do that through reaching out to my email, mimi@dinosocial.com. And just to remind everybody that Samutsari is a member of the Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate. You can also reach out to me via my Facebook page or through my Twitter account. And please do not forget to like and subscribe to all the Guerrilla Podcast Network shows, but most especially to my YouTube channel, Mimi Laurelia. And this show and other Guerrilla Podcast Network shows are available at all podcast streaming services like Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, Castro, Castbox, and many, many more. So, Sheila, let's wave goodbye. Thank you for coming to my show. And
Thank you. Thank
until the next
you.
episode, everyone. Bye.
Thank you for listening. Make sure to visit our website at www.guerrillapodcastsyndicate.com, where you can subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, rate and review this podcast and share it with your friends. You can also join the conversation with Guerrillas RV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please consider on making a donation to help us keep making the podcast you love. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. A Guerrilla Podcast Syndicate production.